Just a random catch.
Yeah, it was inspired.
It's very, I can't say I like
It's like word clouds.
Yeah. I've been workshop for 2 years.
I feel like renaming the school district, like Integrity School District.
Are we recording?
Actually, Integrity.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will call this regularly scheduled meeting of the East Helena School Board of Trustees into session, and the first item on the agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you one and all for joining us this evening. Appreciate you taking time out, and we'll get started on it. Before the board this evening, we have tonight's agenda, and are there any comments from the board on said agenda? Okay, seeing none, then we'll go to hear the public. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on non-agenda items. On the back of this evening's agenda are guidelines for addressing the board on such items. So at this point in time, if any member of the public would like to do so, I invite them to address the board. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the reports. And the first item under reports is our student report.
Alright, this last month has been a very busy time for our students with sports, testing, and other activities. Our sports seasons are starting to wind down now, and the postseason is right around the corner. It'll be kicking off very shortly. For our track and field athletes, they'll be in Livingston this weekend. They host divisionals next weekend, and then state is in Laurel in the week after that. Tennis has a similar schedule, as they'll be facing off against Hardin and Havre this Saturday, with divisionals in Butte next weekend and state in Hardin the following weekend. Softball has a tournament in Butte this weekend, and then they'll head to the postseason. They are currently the 4th seed in their conference, so they will they'll be hosting a play-in game next week against Hardin, with more possible games after that. And finally, baseball has a few more games this week, playing in Townsend tomorrow, going to Missoula Big Sky Thursday, and then hosting Lockwood on Saturday. We are currently 2nd in our conference, so we will also be hosting a play-in game next week. AP testing has been going on last week and this week, so our AP students have been pretty busy taking those. As we are nearing the end of the school year, there will also be final projects and testing in the near future for our non-AP classes. We also had our spring pep assembly this last month to bring the students together and help cheer on our spring sports teams. Getting ready for graduation, our seniors have also had a very busy month. We had senior skip day at the end of April, where we rented out the bowling alley for our students to go to. We had the senior dinner / banquet last week, and we have the valedictorian and salutatorian dinner this week. At the start of June, we will have our senior lunch in between graduation practice and our grad walk. So overall, this is a very exciting time for our students, with the end of the school year less than a month away. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Xavier? Appreciate the report. Let's hear what the little ones are doing. Randy.
All right, good evening. Outside of my board report, and I'll keep it brief, just the one additional thing that I wanted to share with the board, just because it does fluctuate so much month to month, is where we are currently sitting with kindergarten numbers looking into next year. So as of this morning, we have 122 registrations. Out of those 122, 8 of those kiddos are out of district. This time last year, to give you an apples to apples comparison, we had 141. And just because it's important for us to continue to watch kind of what those numbers look like from month to month as we lead into the next school year, between this time and the first day of school last year, we saw 11 kiddos add. So not a huge number, but it gives us kind of an idea of like what we might expect in the next few months for kindergarten registration.
Okay. Any questions for Brad?
How was your overnight stay?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of visitors. I had some people throw me some cheeseburgers in the middle of the night, so I got some midnight snacky snacks.
Did anybody come check on you at 6 a.m. to see if you were still there?
No.
No.
Are you still there?
No. Not at 6 a.m.
I asked if he tethered himself to anything, sleepwalking.
Right?
No, Eastgate has a nice flat roof. Not super comfy, but flat.
That's fun.
Fair enough. I don't believe Mr. Sullivan is with us.
Gus is in Denver
Okay.
and Lindsay's 6th.
Okay.
Mr. Grant's
Mr. Grants is gonna report for you.
There you go.
Yeah, Gus asked me to just share two things. He's been collecting and looking at the discipline referral, and he's noticed this last year that 60% of our discipline referrals are stemming from the classroom, which is a little bit different than past year when that's from recess, so he's just putting a emphasis on this in the leadership team to figure out what's going on so we can figure out solutions to that. And then the second thing he just wanted to highlight, we're finishing up testing, lots of class field trips, developments, concerts, end of year activities. Radbration is going again this year for the 4th year in a row, and the talent show is going on soon, so lots of good things happening at Radley as well.
Okay. Any questions on Radley? Okay. EBMS? Mike?
All right, yeah, so Lindsay's out, but just in addition to my behavior report, this is just kind of the time of the year where we're doing that balancing act between finishing the year strong, trying to fit everything in, and then gearing up, planning ahead for next year. Just some things we got coming up. Wednesday, we're gonna have our 5th graders over to do the 5th grade tour for those incoming 6th graders. And then we'll also be planning another 5th grade parent night for those incoming 6th grade parents to answer some questions. Probably beginning of June is when we'll be hosting that.
Question? Any questions related to EBMS? Okay, let's look at high school.
Yeah, you guys got my board report. Just one thing there to add on, has to do with the 4-day school week that we've been sort of working away at. We're kind of ready to go live with our staff members on Wednesday with the survey we put together from the committee. And then the results of that we'll bring to you, and also sort of, like we said, all those different scenarios for the 4-day school week if it went ahead in 27, 28, which it would obviously would be for next year. So yeah, so it'll be coming up in the next board meeting.
Okay.
So what was the bet that you lost?
The bet that I lost,
Absolutely
Yeah.
nothing.
No
You
bet.
just chose to go pink?
Yes.
Okay.
it was a couple of students one day, a couple of sophomores says, it'd be cool if you dyed your beard. And I said, get 200 signatures and I will.
Oh.
So they got 200 signatures.
You have to up that
It seemed like good idea at the time.
Were they student signatures or just anybody's signatures? Oh, anybody.
No, anybody, there's parents coming through.
Did you sign it, Trish?
Yes.
199 times.
What's that?
How long?
Oh, this will be until about a week before graduation.
That'll be a different color.
No.
So at the risk of it being disruptive to the educational process of Easttown High School, Trish, you got a report?
Yeah, I do. It's not as good as the spirit though. No, just a couple of things to add. We had the 8th graders come over for a tour. It was great for our 8th grade students to walk the halls and to visit with our student activities. We had over 60 tables in the commons with just activities and clubs and things that people could be a part of when they're at the high school. And then students were able to walk around and visit with us, visit with classroom teachers, and just kind of walk through the school to kind of get a feel of what it's like to be up at the high school. And we had a parent night that was very well attended for our incoming freshmen the same night that we did the tour over at the high school. We also started a new tradition, it's in my board report, but I really want to highlight it. Our valedictorians and our salutatorians picked a teacher and wrote a letter to that teacher and then presented that teacher with the letter and a certificate, and we've been posting those online. And so you guys have the full list of teachers and students selected by our valedictorians and salutatorians. And then we are gonna continue to post pictures as we get those different faculty members surprised. We had East Helena High School teachers to EBMS teachers, all the way down to a Radley teacher. So definitely really, really great. We also had someone's kindergarten teacher honored. So it's been really fun to watch just the smiles on the teachers' faces as they're presenting those certificates and letters to their teachers. That's it.
Okay. Any questions on our high school reports? Thank you both, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Sean?
Hello, got my report, just to follow up on Xavier, softball playing game will be on 5/19, which is next Tuesday at 4 p.m. at home. If they win that, then they'll go on the road to take on the number 3 seed out north sometime that week. Baseball's home playing game will be on 5/21 at 5 p.m., which will be next Thursday. And then we are gonna do physical night again on June 2nd from 4 to 7, and we only need to do 8th graders that are gonna be freshmen, and then 8th graders are gonna be participating in sports, and kids who've never had one before, because of the new rules in the MHSA. Questions?
Can you elaborate on it?
What was that?
To the last part, what do you mean?
Physicals, you just have to get one every year, so now we've been running fresh 8th grade through senior physicals. Now you just need one every 2 years.
Oh.
And so everybody got one last year, then this year it's only the incoming freshmen and then those 8th graders. And then the next year it'll be freshmen and sophomores, or juniors, it'll be seniors.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Sean? Seeing none, Eric?
Good evening. The only thing I have to add for this month are bells and paging system at the high school. It's long had some issues. Today I finished up part of the project to fix it, and I haven't had a chance to test it yet until we actually put a load on the system. But I think that that'll be good, and that's kind of the goal for the next week or two is get it up and running. Because once it has a full load on it, it gets quiet in some rooms. Unfortunately, that's when the alarm system is going off.
Okay. Any questions for our AT guy? Okay, seeing none, I believe that is the gist of the administrative reports. So if there's no further questions, we'll move on to trustee and committee reports of the board. I believe we had both the infrastructure committee and perhaps the personnel committee that met subsequent to our last regularly scheduled meeting. Yeah. The discussions on the infrastructure committee, I think it'll be caught under unfinished business item number 1. So we'll address it then. I don't think that there's probably anything else to report yet.
Nothing from that. The long-term infrastructure committee met too, which is not technically a committee of the board, although there's representation on it, so I didn't know if you wanted to touch on that too for anybody who wasn't able to attend.
I'll throw it out, Stacey, would you have anything?
I don't feel like there's any new news.
Yeah, nothing real earth-shattering. Mostly a review of enrollments
Yeah.
and just discussion about need in the district and then just the overall climate for trying to pass or promote funding requests, what that could look like. So.
I guess there was one thing, and I don't know if you caught it. They were talking about a roundabout on Main. Did you catch that?
Well, that is part of the city's potential plan if they can get funding for the, what is it, the Valley Drive project.
I'm just curious if that's the holdup on Valley, is trying to also get that approved and funding for it?
They haven't talked to NBT about the roundabout yet, so it's not an approval thing on that side yet.
So I don't know if there's a funding thing on why it keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed.
I think the whole thing is a funding thing.
It's grant funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys can jump in here if you feel like it. I feel like that the federal money that has kind of been in limbo, part of that project was to complete Valley Drive, not just to the cemetery, but then all the way to Highway 12. And that's where the roundabouts kind of came into the conversation at Main Street. But all of that funding has been in limbo now for 1.5 years, and I don't really know that the last I heard about it last fall was that they were hoping they would have a signed agreement by Christmas, and that was obviously 6 months ago, so it's still kind of, well, you heard what he said, summer of 28, and my heart just kind of sank when I heard that, but that's just the reality of where they're at.
I might be speaking out of turn on this, Terrell. You might know a little bit more about what's going on, but anything that is probably associated with that intersection would have to be designed and approved by the Department of Transportation, since Main Street is an on-system route that is maintained and run by.
Main Street's on the system, yeah.
So then with that, like, how much more are we gonna get pushed out? Like, that's just my concern with Valley Drive.
Yeah.
They start throwing that in there. You're looking at another 5 years.
Well, they could split it, it just depends on, a lot of times I've seen with the funding though, the grant funding is,
there's a date that everything needs to be obligated by, so it's okay, you get your grant, you might have 12 to 18 months to actually obligate the funds, so in other words, be under contract with contractors, so if you're not designing early and getting that stuff done and basically ready, or you've gotta really push it to get it done in between, and then involving MDT in that process at Valley would be, cause I heard they also wanna try and put a signal on Highway 12 at that intersection where it continues in there, and I'm not sure if that would need signal warrants or anything like that, so those are things, I've mentioned to Kevin and I think Staley the last time they were here that they need to, early is a good idea, but I haven't heard anything since then, so. I hope, what I remember is that it's relatively designed from where the county quit to the cemetery, like that part of the project is ready to go from a design and a contract standpoint, so they need money, but from there to Valley, or to Main Street, that hasn't been designed yet, so there's still some effort there, so. That's the last I heard, but it's been over 6 months, a year since I've heard anything solid, so it's just the grant's been in limbo. Not just that one, there's several others I know that are kind of in limbo.
Mark has it.
I don't know the answer to this, but I thought I'd bring it up. Seems to me that we put like $750,000 out of the high school building bond into an escrow account, or?
It was closer to $500,000,
Oh,
a little bit less than that, and, that money we paid to the city, actually, that was one of the last things Ron did before he left, was he wanted to make sure that check got delivered, and so that part, our obligation, that was our obligation.
They signed off on that, because I remember at that meeting, they were kind of hoping that that bond would pay for a new street from Canyon Ferry to Highway 12.
Right.
And Dan Carlin from the county said something like, no, we'll all pay our own fair share.
Right.
And, so, and then, and I thought that that money had to be either spent or returned to the taxpayers within a certain, but I guess if you put it in their hands, then.
That might be a lot of the match,
Yeah.
that. The match, usually when you get a federal grant, there's a local match that you've got to apply, so it might be 10 or 13%, so that 300K or whatever, or 400K might be worth $4 million of federal money.
So did we do that, and then we also gave them a chunk from ESSER, but not whatever the COVID money that needed to be spent by 24? Didn't we send some of that over too?
To the city?
No, I think it's something else then, so I'm thinking the bond money that had to be
Yeah, it
designated
was
by,
like 390,
yeah.
like 390,000.
Yeah.
And they committed to the project, and that was sufficient enough to be able to lift the requirement that they would spend that money within that certain period of time. So essentially, East Helena has that whenever they're able to do that, because there was no way they were going to get it done prior to that deadline occurring. And so we said, you guys need to make a decision. What are you going to do? Do you want to extend this on? If you do, then once we reach that deadline, then all offers are off the table. And they decided that they would rather go with what they knew. Same thing with Gary Oakland and that subdivision. He ended up paying his proportional share as well. And so both entities are off the hook on it. So it's up to the city of East Helena and whatever financing that they have available to them to figure out how they're going to pay for it.
I see, looking a little bit, Tiffany, looking a little bit surprised. Part of it was, I think the idea was that we had a fixed amount and our obligation was taken care of with that fixed amount. And so while we would like the project to go forward at a sooner date, we're essentially off the hook at this point. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct.
So in return for not having control of the money and not having control of the project, we are paid up.
Yeah,
A good clarification.
Good.
No.
Yep.
yeah, that's good then.
That's sort of why we did it.
Yep, you're right.
Not enough. I mean, for that kind of a project, we're talking several million, so if we would've been on the hook later, that could have been, it was good business at that time.
Yeah.
Even better when you look at the costs now.
Right.
Yeah, inflation is, since then, has probably doubled the cost of that product.
Okay. Are there any additional questions on the committee reports? Okay. Seeing none, then we'll move on to our strategic planning, this opportunity for the board and the public to scan the future needs of our school district. And Dan, I'll let you kick off with what we have at this point.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I think the long-term infrastructure committee kind of would have covered it, and that was kind of the conversation we just finished, so maybe we're ahead of ourselves. No, I don't really have anything else to throw in there.
Where are we at on wrapping up our sessions with Deborah?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll ask her. I thought we were waiting for her to deliver a draft to the trustees, and I haven't seen that yet.
There was a survey that she
Yeah.
sent.
Yeah, and then she wanted to do a survey, right? I'll check
I
with her
want
on
to
that.
follow up on
Yeah.
that. Okay. Are there any other thoughts from the board and the public on our strategic plan?
I think that might be a good time to address the elephant in the room, which would be the levy failed. And as far as strategic future needs, I mean, continuing to throw money at putting them on a ballot every year doesn't seem like a great way to continue to go, but we also can't keep trying. It seems as though we're still running so lean. So I guess I feel like, and it's not just the social media push, but just in talking with people in general, that there is just huge misconceptions and not a whole lot of understanding about school funding and how that formula works. And we put on 3 awesome sessions that just weren't attended. And so I guess I'm wondering if there are, districts that, maybe are similar to ours that are passing levies, and how can we educate this community better as to why we need the funds and what's really going to happen with them and how school funding really works. We can't just ask for money from marijuana tax. It just doesn't work that way. And so I guess as far as scanning for future needs, like I would love to see, and this should have probably been part of that strategic planning, thinking about how can we help to, you can't teach somebody if they don't want to learn, but how can we better inform our community, and not just prior to running a levy, but just in general, about how lean our school district's running, why we need these levies, and just how the funding formula works in general. I just think there's so much I had somebody say, well, we can't control how much they spend on sports, and it's just the kind of naivety is gonna continue to hold us back. So how do we push past that, I guess?
One thing I would correct is that it's not too late to include that as part of our strategic planning,
Okay,
not only in this meeting or this portion of our meeting that we have every month, but in subsequent meetings with Deborah
Okay.
as she's helping to develop this. That's a great point. Maybe we can figure out a way on how to place that into our strategic plan, and we can do that. I do know that, just with my relationship with Montana School Boards Association, there was about a 50% passage rate statewide on the levies that came across, and so, which is significantly lower. It just seems like it's gone down every year for the last several years, and so I think that there may be some tax hangover in other areas that we may be feeling the pinch. I do realize and did see that our numbers, although a failed bond or a failed levy is a failed levy regardless of whether it's by one vote or 500 or 1,000, but it was closer than it was the previous year that we threw it out. So perhaps we're chipping away at that stone that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future we'll be able to educate enough to be able to get that passage.
Yeah.
But good point, excellent point, and I would suggest, keep bringing that up. Okay, any other thoughts from the board, public?
I'll make a brief comment on that.
Please.
Susie Hedlund, Hedale, and for the record, I don't know how formal you guys are, sorry. I just would echo that is something I'm working on, is transparency in school funding, because I think that's a big issue that we have in the state of Montana. We have one of the most complex funding formulas that I've seen nationwide. And so the school funding interim commission is going on right now. It's a decennial study. It's our one chance in every decade to make these changes. And there is a proposal out by MTSBA. As you mentioned, I'm actually hoping for something even more simplified and transparent, especially with our challenge in finding clerks right now that have, it's really challenging for them in their role with all of the nuances of our funding formula in Montana. And so I've been looking at models like Kentucky, and one of them that was presented to us at the School Funding Commission was Kentucky. So I was excited that they brought that one because I hadn't heard about it. So I would just encourage you guys to listen in on some of those and maybe even weigh in if you have those opinions, because this is our chance to make a difference and to talk about where things are lean and advocate for what's important to you and your district. So, thank you.
Thanks, Susie.
Okay, any other comments? Clark?
Well, I know there's a lot of people in this community, and of course, we're dying off fairly rapidly, and we'll try to do it, we'll try to pick up the pace. But there was a lot of people that bought a house for $50,000 40 years ago. Now the house is appraised at $450,000. They're being assessed a tax on $450,000. So they're paying more a year in property taxes than they were paying on their house payment in a year. And I understand our situation, but I also understand theirs. There's no money for them to continue to fund public institutions through property tax because they don't have the money. And they just say no. I mean, it isn't that they hate the schools or they love the schools, they love the community. They just don't have any money. And it's like, we don't consider them. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I know what my answer is. Quit printing the damn money. Because when you print a bunch of money, you dilute the value of it. Then you have to raise the appraisals on what property's value is, because you've diluted the value of the money, and it's called inflation, and it's a tax that is hidden. And everybody gets hit in the back of the head with it, and who's to blame? About 2 years ago, I guess, we had a meeting where after COVID and stuff, where we had people making $12 an hour. Well, when they got hired, $12 an hour was a pretty good wage for a part-time job. At that point, they're drowning in red ink, and we needed them. We need people to work in the kitchen. We need aides. And we had to raise, and we need people to haul kids in. And we didn't do it, and they didn't do it, but we were faced with the fact that we had to come up with $4 to $6 an hour more so that we could keep these people employed, so they would help us. And that's where I see our community at. They're just taxed to death. And I'm just, on top of that, I'm just grateful we're not in the Helena School District because those people are dying. So, that was free.
Okay, if there's no additional comments or questions, we'll move on to notifications of retirements and resignations.
We had 5, they're in your packet. It's kind of that time of year where people are making decisions about where they're headed next year, and so some of these were surprises to us. Principals have been working hard to fill some of these positions, especially the difficult to fill special education positions. And those resignations that are in the packet have been accepted on behalf of the board.
Okay. Any questions for Dan on the resignations or retirements? Seeing none, then we'll move on to the consent action items. For the board this evening, we have tonight's consent action items that are consistent of the minutes of our April 13th regularly scheduled meeting, the minutes of the Infrastructure and Transportation Committee held on April 23rd, the minutes of the Long-Term Infrastructure Committee held on April 27th, and the Personnel Committee minutes that was held on May 1st. We also have the approval of the former and current warrants, personnel actions, and surrounding district student enrollment approval. Typically, there is no debate on consent action items. However, if any member of the board wishes to do so, they can ask to have an item removed from the consent action and have it considered separately. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent action items as presented.
Make a motion to approve consent action as presented.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Tristan. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. And now we'll move on to unfinished business. And first item under unfinished business is our baseball facility booster club fundraising consideration.
All right, so this was the infrastructure committee meeting, and the topic of the meeting. We had the baseball coach there, as well as a couple parents from the parent group from the team, and members of the committee, and high school administrators, and had a pretty great conversation about where they want to go with this project. And I was kind of going to lean on committee members to talk a little bit about their impressions as to how that conversation went and what our next steps might be with this.
If you want, I can take it. So, I think the conversation went well overall. There's a lot of unknowns still that we discussed in the meeting. There was some good points made by the baseball group. They did indicate that if we could select or commit to a location, that would really help with fundraising efforts, instead of just like, hey, we're gonna build a baseball field. Like, no, we're gonna build a baseball field and it's gonna be right here, and it helps a lot with fundraising. I can see that side. I think at some point the board is going to have to, and probably sooner rather than later, the board will need to, say yes or no. I guess at that point, I would probably say that we should suggest or designate a position at that point, as far as where the field would go, just to kind of help with those fundraising efforts. But some of the things we still had questions on that would need a little more time to get together was like the sunset time. The boosters were going to look at like how long are they going to fundraise for it if they don't hit the $2 million mark in, say, 3 years, 5 years, whatever their horizon is. Then the efforts quit and they give the monies back at that point.
The efforts quit, or you look at not doing a turf field and doing a potential grass field.
Well, I think we pretty much talked about that and looked at, going for a grass field at that point. That does open some risk up with maybe potentially between fields as far as facilities. That was something that I think should get answered before we build the field, or, but I don't know if that needs to be answered right before we say, yes, we'll commit to supporting it or whatever. At least that's my opinion. There was a few other things about just like insurance, how do we actually build it, but again, not really something we probably need to iron out prior to committing to, supporting the fundraising efforts. So, good overall. I think the final thing is like, how much is the facility gonna take to maintain? Is that, especially with the levy failing and, if we were to take on something that costs an extra $50,000 a year to maintain, or $10,000 a year, or, or more, if we need an FTE, that's something that, we were gonna get some numbers on there based on grass field, so that, because that was probably the higher maintenance costs. Just because grass we're not set up to take care of grass right now, but it's a lot cheaper to build, so. Yeah, that's kind of the report. That was my impression. Overall good, positive, but still some unknowns.
I think the other big unknown was they have a lot of people that want to help with labor aspects. So trying to figure out how to incorporate that into when we put it out to bid, what that looks like. Because obviously cost-wise, we have to put that out to bid. So do we bid it in sections with those parts that labor is being donated, with that left out, versus as a whole, where you're asking then the general contractor to be like, oh yeah, I'm okay with you doing X, Y, Z, which is kind of hard in the general contractor world to ask of that. So getting those those questions answered by logisticals.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was a good discussion.
Yeah.
I think they also have the same questions, and that's why it's kind of coming before us, so we're all in the same boat of trying to figure out answers to all those same questions.
Yeah, so I think that, I did put it out to him to maybe come tonight. I didn't know if they were gonna be able to make it or not. I know, obviously, we're super busy right now, so, probably by the June meeting, hopefully, we can come back with some answers to some of these things and maybe be ready to ask for the blessing of the board for this group to, I mean, they're super passionate. They've got a real strong desire to help kids and help the community and the school district. We just have to make sure it'll, fit within the parameters of how we have to operate, and I think the committee did a great job of asking these questions.
Any additional questions, comments?
Was the Runkle property brought up at all?
It was, and that's kind of why they said fundraising in general is if we choose a location rather than here or there. They were gonna, I think Walker, he's an engineer also, he was there, he's also a coach. He was gonna go up there and look at the property and draw a plan on how it could potentially fit up there. Their concern was the easement there, but talking about maybe using half of that easement for parking and then the other part on how a baseball field would fit up there. But then you come into concerns as you're still traveling kids, off campus. I mean, yes, it's closer, yes, it's in district, but kids are still traveling. So it was brought up.
And there's also the consideration associated with it, since it's in the city of East Helena's city limits, whether or not there's zoning issues that would prevent us from, our city of Helena.
Yeah, city of Helena.
Sorry, the city of Helena, whether or not the zoning requirements would be. Did I say East Helena?
You did.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there perhaps may be, I might say there is, but there may be some zoning issues associated with building a baseball field in that location, so we need to reach out to them as well.
There was also discussions, I know you brought it up, Tristan, about, what was it? I don't wanna say city, but outside of school district land.
Other property.
Other
Oh, yeah,
property,
yeah, private property.
We didn't really go much into detail on that.
No, and the other thing we talked about was could we modify the softball field to also work for baseball, and they really pointed out that it's way easier to modify a baseball field to work for softball than to go the other way, because the baseball field has a much larger footprint and more required setbacks between the foul lines and the dugouts and that kind of stuff, so it would be kind of a huge, actually not really practical to try to retrofit.
You have to rebuild almost
Yeah.
all the fields at that point.
Yep.
So, yeah, we did talk a little bit about the private land.
Right,
A
for
lot of those
somebody
questions,
offering.
yeah, would've went away as far as like, could we then take something, that, the insurance and building and all that stuff, that could be all done, but,
Also, the city possibly offering, is that
Yeah.
an option?
we didn't talk much
Can't do
about
a road
that.
stop link.
Yeah, I think they're
You're
focused
10
on
years down the
roads.
road.
Well, it was good, so hopefully, like I said, we'll get some answers over the next month and see where we're at from there. It's pretty cool, they wanna, try and donate a ball field, that's sweet, but.
So if there's no other questions, comments, then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our school board self-evaluation and professional reading. And I did reach out to the Montana School Boards Association, asked them for different types of evaluation tools that we might be able to access on it. And I was given a couple different ones that other school districts have used on that. And I was also going to peel off the one that we did as a board several years ago, and hopefully try to come up with something. I guess this would not take the formal approval of the board, it's more of a consensus. But with the consensus of the board, would it be okay if you entrusted the board chair to go through those evaluation tools and come up with a draft plan or a draft tool that can be utilized by the board for their consideration. That way, we're not getting bogged down in trying to find out, doing, as a group of 7, trying to come up with different questions or anything else. There's something that we wanted to add prior to us doing the formal evaluation. We could add those in after you looked at the draft, if you would entrust the board chair to do so.
Do you need a motion, or do you just?
I don't believe that it's necessary. It's mostly just if there's lack of objection, then whoever the board chair is, then they can go ahead and do that.
Oh, so we're giving recommendation without even knowing.
Yeah, how could I?
Potentially what.
Yeah.
Board chair will be?
I would enthusiastically have anyone else do it.
Okay, and then on top of that, there were several suggestions that were made as far as team building and leadership development, reading materials that were provided. I have a list of, I believe it's 5 or 6 titles. What I was hoping to do is send out a Survey Monkey with links to the Amazon descriptions of those titles, and then just do kind of or have the board just make selections, like maybe pick 2 out of the 5, and then whichever one has the most receptive, gets the most votes would be the one that we try to tackle. There's some that are a little bit deep, and then there's some that are a little bit lighter, and so then that way we give the board an opportunity to decide how hard they want to take this first go around. If we see it as a success, they can see us doing it again in some of the other subsequent titles as well. So just thought I'd give everybody a heads up on that. I do have a list of those now, but like I said, I'm gonna ask Dan and Jane to release a Survey Monkey so you guys will have that, so you should be able to see that coming here in the next week or so. Okay. Any questions on our evaluation and or our professional development? Okay. Seeing none, then we will now move on to new business. And the first item under new business is an oath of office for our newly elected trustees. Dan, I would like you to introduce our guests.
All right, with us tonight is the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Susie Hedelin. Susie's been a friend of mine for years, and she is somewhat local, so we leaned on her to come and help us with the oath of office, so it's not every day that a school board gets a visit from the Superintendent of Public Instruction. With Susie is Craig Behringer, he's the Deputy Superintendent of Public Instruction, so we've got 2 of the biggest big shots in Montana public education with us tonight, and we just really want to thank you guys for taking the time to be here with us and help us celebrate our new trustees and get them sworn in so we can put them to work.
Thank you.
And it's Martin, Tristan, and Brandon who are going to be sworn in tonight. Did you forget?
I totally forgot.
And real quick before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much for what you do, your guys' dedication, all of you board members, educators, administrators, and parents, everybody, the whole team, like you said, Mr. Dale, it takes to provide an education for our students is important, and the dedication you have me out here on this beautiful night and many others, we really appreciate and are thankful. Having been in this role, we know how critical the board members are to the school, and I think your long-standing leadership and the long-term administrators that have been here are a testament of the great work that you guys do as a board and as a district in East Helena. Ron worked at OPI with us until Craig finished up his stint in Wyoming and was able to come back to Montana. It's really important to have a solid team, and I just think you guys in East Helena do a fabulous job, and I'm really thankful for the partnership we have, whether it's getting to do something fun like this tonight, which is a huge honor, you guys, or it's you letting us use the facilities like we did recently to have the statewide Indian Education Conference. So we're really grateful, and it's nice just to have the direct line of communication. See, we can just text each other. Sometimes Superintendent Rispens loves that, sometimes maybe not. But no, I appreciate it. Okay, so do you want us to do this over here, or
Sure.
where would we text? Okay.
Would you like us to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just line up.
Front and center.
Just line up. We're doing. I was a teacher. Come on. Okay. So, if you would raise your right hand, please. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and that I will discharge these duties
and that I will discharge these duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Proximity to Helen is not always a benefit to
Susan.
society.
We'll need to have you sign it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
need to sign the,
Jane's got it.
Jane's got it.
And do you want me to take this again? Okay. Here we go.
Welcome to the Rangers. This is where the magic happens. Oh God, it's so different. I feel that weight of responsibility. You'll be my size.
That's actually my diet.
Push down.
Doctor said lose weight, I said join school.
No, I'm exaggerated.
Oh,
It's
I
just
just, what are they talking about?
the grinding. Yeah, the repressing weight. Carborundum, I don't
I would love to, yeah, I'll let you know, thanks, Suzie.
I forgot,
What?
Thanks, you guys.
Maybe it was. Okay, it was frozen. It's That's all.
We have some typos.
It's like American.
It's delicious. Mr. Chris, are you present at, are you doing administrative stuff in lieu of? Still or not?
Yeah. Lane Best is,
I just didn't remember that. I like, when I saw you, I was like, I couldn't like place it, didn't like make sense.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
What if I start Google searching?
Do.
The rest of the meeting?
Yeah.
What do you say? Is it the same document? Typos and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay, before we move on to the next item on the agenda, one last time, I would like to express appreciation and so long to our outgoing trustee, Mark Deal.
The next hour is free, so I don't have any place to be.
You're more than welcome to attend any and all meetings, this one and future ones, Mark, at this time as a member of the public.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's gonna say.
I don't have a vote, but I got a lot more latitude than.
We felt you, so constrained and all that. It feels like just dying to tell someone.
But thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Okay, at this point in time, now that we have the new trustees and incorporated into our board, this is now an opportunity to reorganize the board. And so at this point in time, I will turn over the gavel to our superintendent, Dan Erspens, and let him run this portion of the meeting.
All right.
So, first thing we have to do with reorganization of the board is select a chairperson for the 26-27. And so I would like to open the floor to nominate nominations for board chair.
I'd make a nomination.
Okay, Martin?
I don't know whether he's interested, but if I would nominate Scott if he was willing to serve.
Mr. Walter, do you accept the nomination?
I will.
Any other nominations for board chair? Going once. Going twice. Seeing none, we have to vote.
Yeah.
Okay. All those trustees in favor of Scott Walter as board chair for 2026-27, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, Scott, congratulations, I think.
And thank you. Like I've said in the past, is I appreciate the support and the trust that you placed in me in this role. It's a labor of love, and I do appreciate everything that this board and you individual trustees bring to us. And so as the board chair, I'm just here to facilitate the best I can, and just thank you for this honor. So at this point in time, we now need to select a vice chair, and I would now open up the floor to nominations for the appointment of the vice chair for the board. Do I have any nominations?
I would nominate Tyrell Murphy.
Thank you, Brendan. Are there any other nominations for board chair?
Did you want to?
Well, you didn't ask me this time, did you?
It's hard, because you want to nominate somebody, but do they really want to do it?
I'll accept it, yes. Thank you, I appreciate it.
One last time, are there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, then I will call the question. All those in favor of the nomination of Tyrell Murphy to vice chair of the board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
It is a good role as vice chair, so if you ever do want to try, like running meetings and stuff, it's something that. What'd you say?
Have to carry a laptop?
I can't
No,
tell
you
you.
don't have to carry a laptop, but, no, I appreciate it, I really do. I like learning what Scott's got going on, and, you know, running a meeting every now and then isn't a bad idea, so.
And I would reaffirm that too, is that if anybody would want, like I've said at every meeting since, is that I never intended for this to be a permanent position for me. This has opened up a lot of opportunities. I would not have been through MTSBA board. I would not have been an officer and president of that association. I never would have been on the board of directors with the Montana School Boards Association and COSBA without it. And now I'm being asked to be on the board of directors of the Montana Rural Education Association. So I'm also considering that. Those opportunities open up fairly quickly as a result of me being in this position and some of the relationships and people that I've been able to interact with. So if any member of the board ever wishes to do so, I would highly encourage them to, because it's.
Are you supposed to be retiring? It sounds like you're just taking on more positions, more
Right.
jobs.
Sean would be interested to note that I was actually asked to also be on the board of directors of MHSA, and so far I have been able to hide from that one. I'm sure you can. Like I said, I've been trying to hide as much as I can, but the outgoing, one of the outgoing board members lost her election on the Bridger School Board. And so as a result of that, she is no longer the president of MTSBA. She will not be the president-elect or immediate past president of MTSBA. She lost her role on MREA and her directorship of both the small schools and of MHSA. So
Because she lost the election for school board?
if you're not a board member, you are not a member of any of those other boards. That starts at the local level first and foremost. So,
Well, I think I can speak for everyone for just saying, like, I think we all appreciate the level of dedication and professionalism you bring to it. Our board has essentially been from a, like, non-confrontational the entire time I've been here, to which I attribute your even-handed leadership and the fact that you're retired. Like, you put a ton of time into it, and frankly, like, I wouldn't have the time, and I think I could probably speak for many of us that wouldn't, and so very much appreciate it, and particularly appreciate though basically that we all come here, get done. I could call you anytime I needed to, but it's not, there's nothing incendiary or inflammatory. So, mostly you just seem to be really interested in it.
but it speaks volumes. He has no life, is what you're saying.
It's striking.
There could be worse things. You could be
Yes, it
absolutely
could
right. There could be worse.
Leave the glass slipper with the rest of us.
Okay, based on that, okay, if there's no other further comments, questions, I will move on. And the next item is board committee appointments. Wasn't 100% positive what to expect on this, so in order to be prepared, I decided that I would take a stab at reassigning the committees of the board. There are several reasons why I made the choices that I did for those committees, but I am prepared to disclose that now. And I will send you electronic copies of all that so that you don't have to. There may not be a better. I did not make a lot of wholesale changes, but one of the things that came about was as a result of us losing Mark this year and his vast amount of experience that he had on bargaining units, that there was a lot of institutional knowledge that is going to be lacking in both of those bargaining units. So this is how I've got it set up now. As the infrastructure and transportation, I've got Stacy Baird, Brandon Hanson, and Tyrell Murphy. For the bargaining certified, I've got Stacy Baird, Tristan Omer, and myself. For bargaining classified, I've got Tyrell Murphy, Tiffany Richardson, and myself. For budget, personnel, and insurance, I've got Martin Belucas, Tiffany Richardson, and Tristan Omer. For policy review and oversight, I've got Martin Belucas, Brandon Hanson, and Tyrell Murphy. For representatives of the Long-Term Infrastructure Committee, I've kept that the same, so that's Stacy Baird and myself. For representatives to the district staff professional development committee, got Tiffany Richardson and Tristan Omer. And for representatives to the school calendar research committee, we have Stacy Baird, Martin Belucas, and a student representative to be determined. So, I said I did not make a lot of wholesale changes. Most of what happened is that I removed myself from infrastructure and placed myself on both bargaining units. Part of that is because both contracts will be negotiated next year, and so I figured it'd be a heavy lift for somebody to come new onto those committees and have to negotiate right out of the gates. So if anyone has any questions about how I assign those, I'd be more than happy to discuss that after our meetings, but I thought that was in the best interest of our district. So, okay. Moving on, item number 4 under new business is appointment of our district clerk. And Dan, I'll let you.
Okay.
If you could.
At this time, then my recommendation would be for the board to appoint Jane Knudsen as district clerk of the board for 26-27.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Tiffany. Questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public?
I would just say thank goodness for Jane.
Amen.
She came in at a time that we were, I would say desperate. And I really didn't have any anticipation that we were gonna find somebody with experience, let alone 14 years plus of experience. And that's just been very reassuring to have her in that role and be able to answer questions. And if she doesn't know the answers to questions, she knows who to ask, which is kind of a superpower, I think, in that role. So I just appreciate having Jane on our team.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries, and thank you, Kate. Appreciate
Thank you
that.
guys very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on, we'll now consider our out-of-state travel request for East Helena High School esports.
Hi guys. With us tonight is Marty Bender. Right on time, huh?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks Dan. If you don't know me, I'm Marty Bender. I'm a librarian at the high school in the mornings, librarian at Eastgate in the afternoons, and I've been the head esports coach since, gosh, COVID, 2020, yeah, so it's been a while, yeah. So this is the 7th year of our program, and this is our second, do you have to do it for me?
Oh, do I?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. And this is our second Quest for Nationals, which is really exciting with a different team, yay. All right, you go next. So, quick year in review. We had a really successful esports year. Every single team, we have 4 teams placed. We had a second place, which is these guys. We're missing 1 team member. Our other 3 teams placed 3rd. We're the only school to place in every event, which is really awesome. Because Rocket League placed in the top 2, they were invited to nationals. And I will note that the team we lost to, we split with during the season. Both in regular season play and in the playoffs, and it was the most devastating loss we've ever had in our lives. It's horrible, last second type of thing. Anyway, they're first place in my heart, okay? So, I have with us today Caleb Price, he's a sophomore. Travis Lomahakla, he's a junior, and Connor Stafford couldn't make it, he has soccer practice tonight. And this is just the little plug we made for him, so you can see. All right, so just some quick things I want to point out. These boys got to do some really extraordinary things this year. Big Fork, that's our rival we lost to in a horrible game. They hosted a big in-person thing with a live audience, and they had their sports announcer. It was one of the most fantastic things I've ever seen, and I want to replicate it. But we beat them there, so that's freaking sweet. Then here's us at state, and then these boys did take on another tournament at the University of Idaho and ended up winning it, and they were actually really competitive with their college team. So that was really cool. So, some highlights. All right, so we have an opportunity to go to nationals. Last year, Mason took a team, the Valorant team, to St. Louis, Missouri. They're revamping it a little because they want to make it easier for teams to travel. Like going to St. Louis again, that was hard. It was a difficult thing to plan for. So they're setting up a few regional cities that will feed kind of into nationals virtually in the end. And our regional city is Boise. Which is super exciting because we can drive, and it's also one of the top esports programs in the nation, and we've been dying to see it. So it's going to be a really, really cool thing for us to see. We're really excited to represent East Helena for the 2nd year in a row, too. So there's Boise State. They're insane. They have a whole multimedia program, broadcasters, live audiences. If you ever look up their program, it's one of the biggest in the nation, and we get to go see it. It's insane. It's so cool. I'm like, yeah, so excited. So we'll have a driving day, we'll have, and this is July, we'll have a seating and bracketing day. Hopefully we'll get into the final brackets, and then the next day we'll drive back to East Helena. Mason's Games is going to be going. I have a family celebration of life that weekend, which I can't miss, and I'm so freaking bummed because this is going to be so awesome. But Mason's done nationals before, so he's got it. We're hoping to drive a district vehicle, 3 students, 2 adults. We're hoping for a coach and a chaperone, or 2 coaches. We're still trying to work that one out. And this is my thinking. Sorry, it's not a cute slide. It's just like, I don't know how much gas is going to cost. So, wishful thinking for gas, $2.50. That's probably a load of you know what, but we'll see. Next. We're doing a hotel. We found a great one in downtown Boise so we can walk and cut down on some more costs when that would be really, really fun. It's gonna be cheaper, about $100 a night for 2 rooms. So that would cut down significantly, about $1,000 probably, when all said and done.
Oh, that's the last slide.
Is that the last slide? Yay! because we're still in the early planning, I don't have super detailed stuff for you guys. We're just hoping that you give us the opportunity to go do this, because it's going to be amazing, and a few other Montana schools will be going as well, so that'll be really, really neat to see. Any
Do you
questions?
want money or permission?
We want permission. We just want permission.
And now, didn't you go to Idaho and win money?
Yeah, they did.
How, like, it was, like, I've never heard of this in a
Yeah, they
high school
split
sport.
$1,000. Yes, which is really cool. Some tournaments will do prizes, some have done like scholarships, but they decided to do cash, and they're like, yep, we'll take that. So, and they traveled on their own dime, so it was really nice that they got that, so, yeah.
Out of curiosity, and maybe this is a question for you, Dan, but yes, did we approve out-of-state travel for Idaho?
So they went with parents?
They went with parents, no one else went.
So it was
They went completely on their own, because I discovered I was way too late. So, I'm early today. Ready for this one.
Good question, you have a good memory.
People will argue that,
yeah.
okay.
I actually work with Caleb's mother, and she submitted him an itemized bill for his expenses of, you know, his camping up to this point, and he didn't reimburse
All right, any questions for the boys? This is probably our most successful team, especially Travis has been playing since 8th grade, he's a junior, so.
What are you gonna do post Travis?
We're gonna have Kayla. But post Travis and Connor, yeah, cause you were with us from the very beginning, so. That's gonna be a new era, kinda crazy.
You coaching up the youngins? Is that Caleb's coming up?
Yeah, we're trying to recruit, yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. Working on it.
Okay.
Would you like a motion?
Yeah, based on state law, it's a requirement that we approve all out-of-state travel for our students and staff. So therefore, I would entertain a motion to approve such out-of-state travel.
I would make a motion to approve out-of-state travel for the esports team to go to Boise.
Yeah, motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Brandon Hanson. Any questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Carry on, guys, good luck.
Okay, next item on our agenda is a health insurance update.
Okay, I don't have any hard numbers for the board tonight. With our transition to Bridged, things have been a little slow and I would say clunky. And plus our consultant that we work with, who advises us about our self-funded plan, has been having some health issues. So I spent some time on the phone with her Friday afternoon, and we basically just discussed the situation that we're in right now. And as our advisor, she felt it was incumbent on her to present us with, obviously, we made the commitment to go with Bridged Health in January, February, is that when that was? It was last winter. And, but she still secured pricing from Blue Cross Blue Shield and our third-party reinsurance company, just so we had numbers to compare. The point that she was making with me on the phone on Friday was, in the first year, if we were to stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield, there would be a cost savings because they're offering us, I want to say, a kickback payment for what they would call loyalty. So if we signed with them, so if we left Bridged right now and signed with Blue Cross, they would give us that money back. And but like her comment to me on the phone was, she goes, but I feel like a lot of school districts are feeling like they need to stay the course with Bridged in order to make this really happen. And I was like, yeah, well, we've been down the road with insurance companies where they offer you a super low premium to get started, and then a year later they raise your rates, and that's what we're supposed to be avoiding with Bridged Health. And so she is recommending, and I don't have this in paper yet, so I asked her to package it and put it in an email to me so that I could bring it to the insurance committee so that we can look at it together. But they're recommending somewhere in the neighborhood of a 19% premium increase for us. But we're looking at that, at some different ways that we can package that so that it's not quite that painful. And one of the tools that we might have for that is to take a smaller percentage premium increase. And we've got some vacancy savings that we're anticipating at the end of the year in our budget, and make like a one-time fund transfer into the health insurance fund from the general fund to make up the balance of that. There's a little bit of danger in that if you do it all the time, because you're kind of kicking the can down the road as far as what your true costs are. But with Bridge, we don't really know what the environment's going to be like, and they've obviously promised us a lot of stability and long-term reliability and cost savings, and so we're hoping that obviously that materializes along with about 140 other school districts in the state of Montana. And so that's really the only update that I have for you. This has traditionally been a May agenda item, but we're just a little bit behind the 8 ball on that, so I should have some more hard, fast numbers for you in June. Questions?
Questions?
So with Bridge Health, we're gonna increase by 19%?
That's,
Is that what she was implying?
that's what she said on the phone, but I haven't seen it in writing as to what she's basing that on. So, like we usually anticipate what they call medical inflation. So the medical field has its own kind of inflation as opposed to the rest of the world. And it typically runs a lot higher than typical inflation. But I've never seen it more than like 8 or 9%. So I'm not quite sure where she's coming from with the 19%. And that's why I'm kind of non-committal about it. That's what she said to me on the phone. I said, can I get something in writing for you that I can bring to the committee and explain to the committee what we're looking at here? And I haven't seen that yet.
We haven't gotten any more information from John Doran?
We've had communication from them, but what they're waiting for from us is, this is typically when we do our open enrollment, because we've got to get whatever plans the employees want for the next year. We have to have that set up before the school gets out when we do our final payroll, because if they change their plan, it'll change their payroll deductions for health insurance. So we've got to have that done. But we can't do open enrollment with Bridged until we set our rates, and so that's why we're waiting on that number. So it's causing a little bit of anxiety in the business office, I would say, it's fair to say, but I think we're gonna get there.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll revisit this next meeting and hopefully have more sooner.
Yeah.
Hopefully have some hard answers. Okay, moving on, we have got now consideration of our administrative salary increases.
Yeah, so there was a document in the supporting docs. We're bringing a recommendation for these positions in the first bullet for a 3.5% adjustment for going into next year. This next list, these are hourly employees and the administrative staff, and we're recommending $1 an hour increase for those folks. Then there's some other changes. We're recommending that Jen Cordell be appointed Assistant Clerk of the Board in light of all the additional duties that she provides to the clerk and the superintendent in supporting the work of the board. So things like prepping our policy packets and policy revisions, managing and helping to manage our non-resident enrollment and keeping us on track with that. She helps us with our homeschool registration and Title I commitments for homeschool families. I actually forgot to bring my entire list, but there's a huge bulleted list of things that Jen does. And in recognition of that, we're recommending a supplementary contract of $6,000 a year because of her duties outside of her 40-hour-a-week job that she already has with the district. And this is a situation where she just pretty much steps in and helps out wherever we need a hand. And I think Jane would join me in saying it's very valued. I'm recommending an adjustment for our advanced opportunity facilitator. She's going to take on an additional title and duties as the adult ed coordinator and helping out with that. And, the principal salaries are set by the pay plan for principals. And, I left my pay up to Scott, so.
Who currently does the adult ed?
Brandon's been doing it, and, he'll still be the director, like overseeing Jill, but Jill will be kind of more boots on the ground, because she can get out to the other buildings and talk with instructors and try and recruit. We've been having a hard time recruiting instructors, and in the old days before COVID, we had some community folks that taught adult ed, and they've kind of dropped off, and so I just think Jill will have more opportunity to get out and kind of talk to people and talk them into being adult ed instructors. We just really want to expand that and see it grow.
As far as the superintendent's increase, I'm not prepared to provide that recommendation at this point in time. However, we'll have it reviewed, and then the future meeting will be debated and considered as a separate matter. Are there any other questions?
Can I ask one that's not on here?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's appropriate or not.
Yeah, having some sort of administrative staff or.
Okay. So like our test proctors for the high school, how that gets played into, cause like we're talking about Jen doing extra duties outside of her regular paid hours, but then the ones that proctor our AP testing as well as our, the new, what, cause we tested what, freshman through junior this year, and it falls on the hands of pretty much one person, am I correct? I'm looking at you, Trish.
No, I know you are.
And Paul.
She's a testing coordinator, but
Okay,
that's the position, and right now that may need to change based on her own child coming through.
sure. So I'm just, cause it's taking her away from her regular duties.
Sure.
So I was just curious on like how that
So
falls
that,
into play.
well, the litmus test on like an extra duty pay would be, are you doing that job as during the time and part of your regular job? So like I try to put an extra duty contract on somebody who's already, like, if their job is from 8 to 3 and they're doing that work from 8 to 3, then what we're doing is paying them twice during that time.
Sure.
Which is illegal, we can't do that. So part of that discussion comes down to, is that part of that person's assignment and job duties and position description, or isn't it? And I'd have to look into that, because I don't have an answer for you right now. That's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the recommendation of the administrative salary increases as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the administrative salaries as presented.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Tiffany. Additional questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. Okay, we'll now move on to trustee resolution number 246 for Lewis and Clark County to conduct our future election.
Yeah, so it's that time of year when we have to let the county know if we want them to run our elections for us again. And I know that we've had some frustration with the county, but I talked long and hard with Jane about pros and cons of taking back our elections and, or versus having the county do them, and we feel like this is the best direction for us to go. I could answer questions if you have questions about why, or Jane can too, but this is the time when we have to commit.
How much does it cost for us to do our own?
We don't know. We have to hire election judges. We probably have to hire part-time or temp help to come in and just work to administer.
We've done it in the past though,
Yeah, I don't think we have for probably 15 years.
comparatively versus the county.
I
Are
don't know.
Cool.
we saving like $5,000?
Wait, so yeah, part of what you run into is all the postage and printing, because like Jane pointed out to me, when we run our own election, if we do like a poll election with polling places, you typically have somewhere between 40 and 60% of your electors that have requested mail ballots anyway. So you still have that cost, because I was kind of like, well, we can get rid of all the postage and the printing, but I kind of forgot that in the old days, we used to be able to request a mail-in ballot. So that cost is still gonna be in there, and then however many polling places you set up, you have to staff them all with electors for the full day. Plus they have to be staffed to come in and count, and your election judges, I don't know.
Yeah, and the election judges have to have appropriate training, and so we pay for that. They would go through the county to get that training more than likely. The biggest advantage for having the county do it is the fact that they have everything set up electronically, so everything's barcoded. So when we get a ballot in, they can take it, they can scan it, it tells the computer and it tracks that they've received this, or if they left the birth date off and it becomes a provisional ballot, or they have to resend, that gets all tracked through there, through that barcode. They'll scan it again and they'll email it back out, or whatever the case may be. The amount of additional work that you have to do now versus what it was when I first started running elections, because we used to run our own. And then it became where so many people were voting absentee that the bulk of the election is sitting there already. And then you would get hardly anybody at the polling. In Malta, for example, we had almost 1,900 the electorate was 1,900 people. We would get in 600 to 800 ballots, just absentee. We would have a polling place, we'd hire the judges, make sure they were all good. They'd sit there for 8 hours to get 100 more people in. And it was really kind of consistent every year, 100 more people. And that's all you got. So your election is already sitting there, kind of mostly decided. And so you don't really save much by not doing the mail ballot, other than we have theories about whether mail is better than having the polling place. I personally love the polls because I like to go in and vote in person. But the biggest thing for the county is really their ability to electronically track all those ballots, because when they come in, you're supposed to be checking those signatures right away. Now that they have the birth year on there, do they have the birth year? We would typically get one copy of what their signature looked like. Well, if it doesn't match, then you have to get hold of the county. They have to look to see, and they usually have 3 or 4 more different forms of their signature. It becomes a full-time job just doing that. And if you are, for me, I was the person also running payroll, helping the board, doing all that. I couldn't keep up with all of that. And so as soon as our county said, we're really willing to do the elections, I couldn't sign up fast enough because of the amount of work that they can do easily versus us. Is it all doable? Yeah, we could do it. We would have to hire temporary help to come in and be there to monitor those ballots as they're coming through and all that additional. So even though there are some things that we may or may not like about having the county run it rather than us, there are, I think, larger advantages in the long run to it. So, and I've learned a few things this year with our county here versus counties I've had experience with in the past. So I'm more prepared for next year. So.
If we did it ourselves, we have to have polling places. We didn't do polling, it was all mail this time, right?
You can choose to do mail ballot, or you can do polling, the poll election. You have to choose one or the other. So if we choose the poll election, that's fine, and we'll have to set up polling places if we have 1 or 2, wherever we have them in the district, then you have to staff with 3 people.
You don't have to.
And so if we only have 1 polling place, then we need 3 judges prepared and ready to go. But you still have all of the absentee ballots that will come in, so you'll still do a mass mail out for the absentees. And if you haven't noticed over the last number of years, especially during COVID, there's been a dramatic push to move everybody to a mail ballot and to get you to sign up for the absentees. Because I wouldn't sign up for it. And finally, there came a time where it was like that, if I wanted to vote, it was really, they kept pushing you towards that. So there's a concerted effort. So I think what used to be in Malta to be 50 to 60% became a higher percentage of people who were absentee. And so I think you would probably see that here. And I could ask those questions of Connor to find out truly how many absentees versus the other. So like I said, there are certain things that we may or may not like, but overall, they have some more advantages than we actually can do here. It's kind of unfortunate, but school elections just aren't as easy as they used to be. Everything's become a little bit more complicated because more eyes are watching us, so, and fair enough, they should.
And forgive me if I'm wrong, Tristan, correct me. But I don't think Tristan's point so much was whether or not we would go to a poll or a traditional type of election. I think your question was more in line of if we had the county do it versus if we did it ourselves on an absentee or a mail ballot only. So I don't think she was talking about the polling places.
I really just wanted to know, are we gonna save $20,000 or, and if you're not, then that's, I just really wanted to know if we did it ourselves, would we be saving ourselves the money? Would we spend like $5,000 instead of $20,000 to have the county do it? That's honestly what I wanted to
Right.
know.
I don't, and I'm not gonna be able to speak on specifics, but what I've been told before by Kim and by Jill on it is that, yes, there is a nominal savings associated with going with having it done internally, but it causes so much disruption to the staff and everything else that is incorporated or required to do that, because we still need to have, individuals there to count the ballots, so we're hiring those people, they need to maintain all of that, and so a lot of the work effort associated with it then falls onto our own staff to be able to make sure that that occurs. And I've not met a business manager yet in our district that said that it was really worth it to considering how much the opportunity costs are lost as a result of us doing those.
And the costs end up really being, as you said, it's pretty nominal savings because the county isn't paying for the postage. They're passing that cost to us. They're passing all that printing to us. They're passing the cost of the wages of people they've had to hire to do all the counting and the stuffing and that kind of stuff. We're essentially, what we pay them is probably pretty close to what we would have cost us if we did it ourselves, because they're just passing that through to us. Maybe, I would think maybe the only benefit we might get, and this is me guessing, would be if they do a lot of elections at the same time, maybe a bulk rate on the postage. I don't know if that'd be true or not, but.
Yeah, I've been unhappy at times about the way Wilson Clerk has administered our elections, but not enough to say that we should go back to doing it ourselves because of the input that I've gotten from that, so from our business managers. And I hate to burden our staff with other things, other responsibilities that they should have. But that's up for the board to decide if we want to do that.
Thanks, Jean.
Any other thoughts? Forgive me, but I don't think we have a motion yet on the floor. I would entertain a motion then to approve resolution number 246, requesting that Lewis and Clark County to conduct our next year's elections.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Tiffany, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Tyrell. Additional questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Mark?
And this is a year-to-year thing, correct? I just want to caution you to keep an eye on this thing. I've said the oath here 11 times. I've said the oath at irrigation district 8 times. So, 19 times. This year, the county wanted to run our elections and has been insisting that for about 3 or 4 years. And this year, when I took the oath of office, because we did not have the county do it, there was an addendum to the end of that oath that I was committing myself to using my proper name when, as a signator, and I mean, there was a bunch of others. And, you know, we need to make sure we're in Montana code annotated and doing this correctly. I think there's kind of a move to make this more complicated all the time so that the local authorities are willing to give it up, but it's part of this thing. And I'm just talking, if I was sitting here, not standing, I would probably go another year, but I would keep an eye on it. That's my only thing.
Okay, thank you. Any additional comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question then. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. Thank you. Good conversation. Okay, next item on the agenda is a short discussion on MTSBA trainings and opportunities. In the board packet, Dan placed in a notification of the leadership training that is to be held on June 9th. You would see there was some itinerary that was listed on there, I believe, on the previous page. Yeah. Those line items, if you look at those, there's some pretty good in-depth discussions on a lot of things that I think that members of the board have asked previously. So I'm not suggesting that it's a mandatory or anybody should feel compelled to attend this training. I'm just saying that the opportunity is there. And I think that there's probably some really good information that's available if anybody is interested in doing that. And
this one's a little challenging because it is our last day of school. So if you have kids in school, school gets out at 1:30 that day. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh, I really want to go to that. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I can get on last day at school. But like Scott said, it's got great topics. So if there's a way that it works out that you're able to go, you guys get these emails, right, from their listserv? Okay. Because it's got a hot link right in it to register. And I think it's free. Am I right about that? Because if it's not, the district would pay your way to go to it. But I thought there was no charge.
yeah, I don't believe that it's free. I will be attending it, but yeah, if there's anybody that is so inclined or has the opportunity to go to any or all of it, I would strongly encourage you to take that chance because there is going to be some good information there. With that caveat too, is that there's 3 links on the MTSBA website. That is the 2025 orientation for newly elected trustees. And the first one is Essentials for School Board Trustees, which is listed as 2 hours long. Then the next one was Montana's Open Meeting Laws, which is also about 2 hours long. And then the third and final one was Effective Governance, Family and Community Engagement, which is about 1 hour and 45 minutes. Those have been recorded from last year. If anyone is interested in listening to any of those, I'd be more than happy to make sure that you have a link to be able to access that. I believe that all of you should have a username and password in MTSBA's website, so you should be able to grab and access that. I was doing it mostly for Brandon because Brandon's brand new. I'm hoping that they might do an updated one for 2026, but I haven't seen that yet. And I checked it as of yesterday, and it has not been updated. So But if anyone, I'm gonna share those links with Brandon, once I can get him set up with his username and password. And hopefully he'll be able to gain some information from that. So was there any questions on those two training opportunities? Okay, this is less a training opportunity and something maybe of a personal nature. Perhaps it should have gone into a different portion of the agenda. However, I wanted to give everybody a heads up that on May 27th at 11:30, there will be a meeting of the Montana School Boards Association Region 11. And those are pretty short meetings. They typically only last about 5-10 minutes. Partly because a lot of the stuff that is provided and that used to be traditionally included in those meetings has now been shared either on Think Tank Thursday or other types of avenues. But part of that meeting will be that they will be selecting a new regional director or a regional director. I am up for that position again, and I would like to continue to serve in that role. However, those are very lightly attended. And so therefore, there's a possibility that somebody else from Region 11 could pop up with a small contingency of their board and be able to take on that role. Not to say that there's anything nefarious about doing it, it's just that if an individual hasn't been involved with the board of directors of MTSBA, then there's a distinct disadvantage associated with that. I would like to continue to do so. If any member of any of you would be willing to attend that meeting and hopefully vote on my behalf, I would appreciate it.
Can you give us real specifics, because that other, that. I sort of tuned out.
Yes, I can give you, it's at May 27th, 11:30 a.m. I believe that you should have received a Zoom link to that, probably.
Oh, you think we could just zoom in?
Oh, it definitely
yeah.
Zoom in. That's the way you can do it.
I don't think there's anything untoward about, I mean, you're representing your whatever interest, but I think it's a benefit to the East Helena board if you are a district representative. So, I mean, I know you want to be careful about advocating for yourself.
I'm not doing that, I'm just saying that
But if you could provide us with the information, we can all look deep in our hearts.
Typically, we get membership or attendance from some individuals from Shelby, some from Conrad, once in a while from Big Sandy, but other than that, there's no one else that actually attends those meetings except East Helena. So it's like I said, fairly thinly attended, but if you're so inclined, I'd appreciate participation. In that same vein, I reached out to Tiffany earlier tonight about it. With Marcia being gone off the board, she was one of our delegates to Delegate Assembly. I asked Tiffany if she would be interested in being appointed to that position, and she has graciously agreed to do so. So in the event that I am selected as the director for Region 11, then what I will do is I will I can appoint an individual to be in that position, so I would appoint Tiffany to that. The reason why is that Tiffany has shown interest in some of the goings on of MTSBA previously, and I thought it was a great opportunity for her to be able to pursue that a little bit further. In that same vein, there's three alternates also available on that. And if any one member of this board that would be interested in serving as an alternate to it, I would be happy to appoint that as well. Really what that would amount to is that they'd probably be looking to have some type of attendance either virtually or in person at himself. And I know that some of that precludes your guys' schedules to being able to attend because of different other conflicts in your schedule. But if any member of this board would be interested in being appointed as an alternate to that, it'd be my pleasure and honor to do so. Is that clear as mud? Okay. So now we'll move on to the next item under new business, and that is our non-resident student application consideration.
Okay, there was a grid in the supporting documents of your packet. Those numbers have shifted a little bit, and Jen brought a printout that was by your spot when we sat down. What we're asking for tonight, so we're working through the non-resident process, and what we're asking for tonight is just approval for the students who are returning. That's the first section. And then also the new applications which have been received, and those are in pre-K and some, it looks like we have one middle schooler and then some high schoolers that we're asking to approve tonight, and that number changed a little bit, it's up to 15. And then what we're not looking at tonight is kindergarten. As Brandon mentioned earlier, we typically get quite a few kindergartners that walk in over the course of the summer, so we'd like to hold off until August to look at kindergarten again. So we'll bring those to you. We also have, I believe, 27 that we're recommending to deny. Is that, or was it 23? Okay. And
sorry, could you speak up, please?
He's accurate.
And so the denials have to be handled individually, and that's what the special meetings are gonna entail, is a lot of handling those. Those folks who request a session with the board. So what we did with the denials is we sent them a letter and said, your application is being recommended for denial. The reason is, and the options there are discipline, attendance, or academics. And then it says you have a right to request a hearing with the Board of Trustees. And we gave them until next Wednesday to request their hearing. We already have, I think, 5 that have requested hearings. If you remember last year, we scheduled these. I think we had 4 scheduled that night, and I think we had 1 or 2 that actually came. Yeah. So by law, in our policy, we have to afford each family that's being denied an individual session with the board and an opportunity to basically tell their side of the story. And then the board's got to take action on each of those individually. The folks who don't request a hearing will bring those denials to you as a batch denial and just list how many of those that there are. But for now, we're just wanting to get moving on these approvals so that we can get the information out to the families so that they know that they're approved and they know where they're at for next year. And that's all we're asking for tonight.
Because this has been so an evolving process,
Yeah.
Can you give us the 30-second spiel on how the approvals were chosen?
So, so for the students who are current students who are returning, the principals review those records. If there are no concerns about discipline or attendance, then they go on the list for approval. The other thing that we look at with those is our section counts in those grades. And that was, there's a couple in the elementary grades that we're concerned about, but when I went through those with Brandon and Gus, they said we're still below our 2 below the state standard minimum in each spot. Now, I can't guarantee you that we won't have resident students walk in the door between now and August and put us over that spot, but that's not how our system works right now. And again, we're working through this. This is really our second time through with this new law. And there's some quirks and oddities to it, but that's the basis of how we write it.
Well, the reason I asked is it struck me that it sounded like, for lack of a better term, the denials were all for cause.
Yeah.
They weren't just because we've struggled with that before.
Right. And if we talked about this morning, if we get into that range where we're denying just based on enrollment, then we have a hierarchy that we have to go to where we have certain priorities that we set, and the last priority in that is just the date and time of their applications.
Dan, can you refresh my memory on this process? Do we have a specific date? Because I mean, like the kindergarten, we're holding off till August. Is there a reason why we can't hold off a little bit more? And I'm just asking, like, is this something we may need to look at as a board just to help with this? for like current enrolled would be addressed at this meeting, but
Yeah,
new would be August just because of that potential.
Yeah, the challenge is,
I just can't remember the way the laws are written on this.
well, our policy, it actually asks for an approval within 30 days, or a response from the board within 30 days, is how I remember it. I don't have it in front of me right now. It's 3141, maybe I'll go back and study it one more time. There's a 30-day time period and a 60-day time period in there. With kindergarten, we basically are ignoring that. And the reason being, the kindergarten is a grade where we typically get a lot of resident kids who come in because the parents didn't know they were supposed to pre-register, didn't know they were supposed to come to kindergarten screening. I mean, would you say that's pretty characteristic of what we deal with there? And so that's why we hedge our bets there. To do that in the rest of the elementary grades, we probably could. We'd have to start dipping into that whole hierarchy of, is this a staff child? Is this a child who has other siblings in the district? And we didn't dig that deep into it, partly because we have the denials that are gonna offset some of these enrollments, and partly because we just didn't have the justification by our strategic plan numbers. And one of the things that was brought up, I think maybe it was even partly during our strategic planning session, was do we, right now our strategic plan says our quality educator or quality education limit is 2 below the state standard. Does it need to go to 3 below the state standard? If we did that, we'd have to deny at least 6 kids in 3rd, 6 in 4th, and 6 in 5th, because we're right at that number right now. And I'm not sure where it would put us with kindergarten, 1st and 2nd. We don't have a ton of leeway, but it might not be quite 6 at each grade, but it would automatically, we'd be cutting them out. And the debate I've been having in my own head, and I don't know the answer to it, is there's a chance that if we get, say, 5 3rd graders that come in that are resident kids over the summer, that we might have to look at adding another section of 3rd grade next fall. And if we do that, then all of a sudden we have 20 seats in 3rd grade, right? Because you've got another classroom. And so and that's what we've been trying to resist. We're just not quite at that limit where we have to start telling our current non-resident kids, you can't come back based on numbers. But right now, we're just looking at you can't come back because of discipline or attendance. And to be honest with you, I don't feel that great about that either, because sometimes these are our most vulnerable and needy kids who come from really unfortunate situations, and to say, well, you can't come to this school anymore, you gotta go find another one, is really not what that child needs right now in their life. But that's really where we're at with non-resident applications.
Just was curious if we need to look at that or
Yeah.
not. It's not an easy.
60 days after they've turned in their application, you have 60 days to review it, according to the policy.
Yeah, so where's the 30-day part?
And the application was like April 15th.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I don't see 30 on here, but I'm
I thought they got a response within 30 days. Jen and I talked about it last week in the office. So one option you would have is, we could kick this down the road to the June board meeting. But what I would ask for tonight is the approval for the high school students, because those are kids who are looking to get involved in summer workout camps and those types of programs. And so typically, we've always done the high schoolers in May.
Do we have a cap on each grade level of what will put us over the state standard? Like, do we have a
Yes.
number of students that, I don't remember what it is, but. and
So
how
that
close-
was essentially an email back in February, and it was kind of laid out in there. I'll see if I can find it back. Well, I don't expect you to remember that, but it was laid out in there. It said what the state standard is, and then what our local standard is, and then what our enrollment is right now at that grade level, and that was in February, and it's fluctuated a little bit since then.
So we don't know how many we're off currently from that.
We're right at it.
with all the people that are asking, in each of
Yes.
the grades that are asking.
Yeah.
If we accept all of those, we're right at
Yep.
the,
So we can't handle any more of them.
right, but then.
We can't handle any
residents-
more non-residents. See, this is the catch-22. You can't handle any more non-residents, you can't say you can't handle any more residents, because
Right,
they're
that
coming no
puts us
matter
over-
what.
That puts us over our strategic plan, which
Right.
therefore means, okay, all right.
We won't know until day one what we have for a final number.
Yeah, actually, it's about 10 days after school starts is when that enrollment really settles in.
How many of the high schoolers are, do you think they're gonna be long-term? Or are they,
Long-term high school?
yeah, or are they just coming,
Yeah, if you look at your new applications, not the ones that are currently enrolled, it's 6 kids. And some of them are sophomore, junior. I'm assuming, I think one of them has to do with Helena High being remodeled. But the 4 that are freshmen are coming in that freshman year.
and are those like hitting that Montana City School where they're choosing us over Helena High or
There's a
Boulder?
couple, yes, and they have siblings tied in with that as well.
Cause I feel like our biggest crunch is at the high school, but that's for what you wanna approve first.
Yeah, when you look
And
at
I
our,
get it.
when you look at our average class sizes in the high school, we can't really justify saying no. Even though we have some sections that are maxed, when you average it out across the entire, and that's the only way I can really do it for middle school and high school, because we can't say, well, we've got 30 kids in this English class, so we can't take any non-resident kids. Where in first grade, second grade, we can say, well, we have 6 classrooms, they're all at 26 kids, the state standard is 28, so if that's 2 below, that's our litmus test that
And
we
you
have to
can't
match.
use your core classes as your state standard
Even those,
set,
even the average of those is not
because you
over
have your
28.
APs and then you have your generals.
Well, and Stacy can help, these are the 2 different categories. The one at the top is all kids that are currently counted in our rosters.
Right.
Those are returning kids.
Right.
And so when you're looking at your new applications, you're seeing the numbers, not K, or not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no new non-resident applications in those grade levels.
And I want to say there's 3 denials in high school, 3 or 4.
Yeah, there's,
So it really almost offsets.
We're almost balanced.
The net gain is 2 or 3 students.
there's 4 total for new applicants that were denied.
So the administration has requested of us to approve the non-resident applications as presented. If the trustee is willing to do so, I would entertain a motion to make such a.
I do have one question.
Yeah,
For the Little Annies.
Yeah.
Out of district, are we just running all sections with exceptions? Are we running 3 sections again? And what's the cutoff for acceptance this year?
As far as
For
numbers?
Little Annie acceptance? Like are we doing any cutoffs or rejections for Little Annies this year? Or how's that working, just accepting the 6 out of district students?
So we have 3 sections, I hope I'm answering this correctly. And then we have a cut score, and any students who fell below that cut score qualified.
Right.
Regardless if they're in district or out of district. So hypothetically, and I'd have to go back and look at the specific numbers on how many we have out of district, but we can't qualify more if out of district kids are denied. So if if you were to deny 5 out of district students, we couldn't take the next 5 because they're above the cut score.
Gotcha.
We would just be down that number of kids.
Cool. Yeah, I just didn't know where we were at with that. And then follow up, kindergarten's usually where we, delay stuff. These would be 6 currently enrolled students carrying over next year. For out-of-district students, seeking acceptance back into our district.
That's true.
This is obviously a new situation, but this is just kind of precedent to consider when we have these discussions in a year.
Do we, I guess, do we know though, how many of the Little Annie's kids that are out of district for, that program do reapply for kindergarten? Cause it could just be that it's a pretty specialized program and it's.
Oh, for sure, I
free.
just wanna make sure if we're
Right.
getting these families excited about Easton,
Yeah,
that
I'm just
they
wondering if we
are
know
prepared.
what that, like, reapplication process is. Do you know how many on
They all
average?
do.
They do,
The,
they
the
all do.
current Little Lanties who are out of district now, unless they're just moving like out of state or somewhere else, apply for out of district for the following year.
Do they?
That's just a concern I had, I just wanna make sure that when they're establishing friendships at 4 years old, that we're taking that into consideration. I'm all for it, I just wanted to make sure that we had that clear.
Get it, yep, that's a good point.
That being said, I would make the motion to accept the administrator's recommendations out of district.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the non-resident applications as presented. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Tiffany. Additional questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public?
I have one, Scott.
Yeah,
I don't have my notes with me, but at the last meeting, did.
before you move
Oh,
forward, name,
Mary Smith.
thank you.
Do you need an address or anything?
Nope.
At the last meeting, I was a little bit surprised. It sounded like maybe the non-resident numbers were down from historical numbers, is that correct?
Yeah, I think we were at 212 last year, and we're around 174 this year.
So it seems like the trend then, these are resident students that are coming in. There's a lot of building going on. I would just encourage you guys to consider maybe the long look rather than reacting to little fluctuations, not little, but fluctuations. Like you said, if you get enough resident students, you might have to open up another section and then you might have quite a bit extra room. So I know it's scary being right at the bubble right there, right? But I think it's reasonable to believe that there's a lot of building happening and that your resident students will push you over those limits as it is. Again, just to like appeal to the emotional side, right? Like the kids that are here have built relationships, they've built community. And I guess just thanks for your consideration in that, like it's a big heavy decision and, appreciate that.
Thanks, Mary.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. Okay, now we're gonna go on to consideration of our SRO contract with Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, so this is a 3-year agreement that's expiring at the end of the school year. We currently have 2 full-time school resource officers that serve the district. One is stationed at East Helena High School, his name's Officer Jeff Stoltz. And the other one's stationed primarily here at East Valley Middle School, but they do serve all campuses and throughout the district for the 9 months of the school year. During the summertime, they get reassigned to other duties for the sheriff's office to balance out their time. The cost of the agreement, I'm trying to find it. I went rounds a little bit with the sheriff's office over this, but then I ended up having to kind of eat my words.
Well, there's the email afterward.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of drove the point home. Did you say page 3, Stacy?
36.
36
Your email.
of the PDF.
Yeah, I was looking, the annual cost is in the contract.
31.
Compensation.
Thank you. This mouse is a little squirrely, I'm sorry, but.
That was it, that was compensation.
Did we miss it? Oh, yeah, right there. So we pay an annual fee to the Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office. What our fee was this year was $75,000. Next year it would go to 80, then it would go to 85, then it would go to 90 for the 3rd year. And I was complaining to them a little bit that $5,000 a year was just kind of a round number, like where are you coming up with that as an increase? And asked them for a breakdown of costs, and I actually didn't totally mean to throw that email in here, but it actually breaks it down pretty good. And these salaries are a matter of public record, so it's not like there's some kind of weird disclosure here, but those numbers in there, that's the total cost of employment for each of those officers. And what they did here was then they averaged them together and then added the vehicle cost, and that gives you a total cost per officer of $125,000 to the sheriff's office for having them on their staff. So our share of that for 75% of that person's time would be $95,000, but we're only paying for one officer, not for both. And that was not totally clear to me. So when they pointed that out, I was like, oh, I think we'll just settle for what we've got. And we really value these guys. They're super in terms of what they provide to the kids. They're very well trained in their role as a school resource officer, understanding that they're there as a mentor to kids and a safety officer to support the entire school district. They brought a lot of great trainings into the district and other opportunities that we've benefited from that have been outside this agreement, that have just been, you know, kind of a additional bonus of having SROs. And so the other piece that I do want you to know is we pay our costs for this out of the building reserve fund. So this is not teacher salary money. It doesn't come out of the general fund. The building reserve fund, we generate about $330,000 annually in there through our local match, and then the state doubles that. They nearly double that with a match from the state through the infrastructure money. Primarily, building reserve historically has been for things like putting a new chiller at EVMS or a new roof on Radley School. But a few years ago, the legislature added safety and security as a component of building reserve. SROs fall under that, and so that allows us to use the building reserve funding. So my point is, we have the money to pay this bill, and it's a service that we really value, and when you get right down to it, we're getting a really good deal from the sheriff's office. They value the partnership and their relationship with East Ellen schools, and so I'm recommending that we approve the agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with the sheriff's office.
Second.
Motion second from, yes, Tyrell is,
Tyrell, he's there.
he's got the word.
So Stacy made the
Yeah,
motion,
made the
Tyrell's the
Tyrell
second.
made the second.
Perfect, thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I was pleasantly surprised and happy about Total Calm.
As always, I'm super annoyed on number 17 where like the other party can cancel it at any time. But
That's the
the
lawyer.
truth of the matter is, what's that?
That's the lawyer in you coming out.
Well, I mean, like what do you, I mean, I'm just putting everybody on notice, I'll fight, if we need to cancel it, we'll cancel it and damn the contract. Because it's just like super obnoxious when it should be cancelable by either party. So.
Believe it or not, Martin had that tagged in the
It's a contract of adhesion.
Yeah, I don't appreciate those types of that.
But it's, the truth is, I don't imagine we're gonna terminate it, and I really don't think the county is gonna sue us for that percentage, and we're getting a good enough deal that I don't think I'd look for gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah, the cruisers that they have are worth a whole lot
Right,
more.
right.
That 450 gallon is a lot expensive, that go juice is expensive.
Yeah.
Well, we're saving them all that money, they don't even have to drive around.
Are there any additional questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public?
We're gonna beat him at the softball game next year. Yes, we are. That's all I want. Yes, we are. We were really close this year, and next year's our day here.
You do realize though that if you do beat them, then they're gonna have a patrolman right
Yeah.
there at the end of
Right.
each school, so
Oh, they came and
you might
taught
pay
us
for it
the
in
next-
other ways. Seeing no further comments, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is our annual performance review of our charter school.
Okay, so this is a report that goes to the Board of Public Ed about the 227 Academy. They have evaluators, they actually cooperate with OPI to get this processed. That process these reports against a rubric, and we get back a score that rates us for exceeds standards, meets standards, approaches standard, or does not meet standard. The first column here is last year, the second column is this year. You can see we've improved in several areas. However, we did have a few areas that we approached or did not meet the standard. This is the high school 227. They were really vague with me about attendance and something carrying over from last year. And basically McCall Flynn told me, don't worry about this. However, we did respond to it in our response down here, where we have to, if given a rating of approaches or does not meet, they want a comment from us, so we did comment on that and what we're doing to try and improve in those areas that they marked. So this is basically just a review for the board to take a look at it. If you've got questions, I'll throw Lindsay under the bus because she did the lion's share of the work on this and then got sick and didn't make it to the board meeting tonight. But I will try to answer any questions people have.
What do you mean, don't worry about it? Last time they said that, it cost us a pile of money.
Right, that was on attendance, and we're over our threshold on that.
Yeah, well, not according to this.
No, we are.
No, it's just that the kids
The-
aren't attending the
This
school.
attendance is
not
the
that we don't have
attendance
the
rate
numbers,
of
it's
the
just-
children who
Oh.
are enrolled. No, it's nothing counts.
Yeah, we got the
That was-
numbers, they just don't
yeah.
show
That
up.
was a six-figure
Yeah,
issue
yeah,
last
yeah.
time.
No, you're right. That one was, that hurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bottom line, I did get some anecdotal feedback from staff at Board of Public Ed. They were very pleased with the report and overall how the school's doing.
Good job.
Cool.
Dan,
Yep.
just a fear that I have, and nothing we probably have any control over, but the fear I have is that we get through, what did you say, five-year window on this thing, in the midst of these evaluation, or the reevaluations of this program, and then you end up not necessarily with the current occupant, but maybe with the future occupant that takes a look at something like this, and then we get dinged on it. I mean, McCall can go ahead and say, don't worry about it, but I'm kind of in the same vein as Frill, is that this is the kind of crap that I do worry
Right.
about, because this is a program that we think have seen some district-wide value on, and I'm not sure if they're gonna be as quick to re-up some of these charter schools.
Okay. So, and we're the guinea pigs in this with the entire first wave of charters, because we applied the first year. And I do have concerns about getting our charter renewed in 5 years. I also have concerns that, and I don't see this as being likely anytime soon, but at some point down the road, the legislature could take a look at charter schools and say, look, this is costing us a lot of money, we're gonna go another direction. If we were to, like Scott suggests, not get our charter renewed in 2 more years, so that we're in year 3 right now of a 5-year contract. If we were to not get our charter renewed, or if the legislature did something untoward and discontinued charter schools, which they could do at any time, that would be about a $500,000 hit to our budget. And which we're pretty dependent on at this point, because we have to serve these kids, whether or not we have a 227 academy or not, because they're our students. So it's a double-edged sword. We like the additional funding and the opportunity to beef up what we offer to students in this realm. The one thing that I would say we're doing really well in the 227 is individualizing things for individual students, which is something that we just can't really do in the regular 6th through 12th grade classroom. So we've got kids doing just a whole mix of really innovative opportunities that range from distance learning to remote learning to work-based learning and everything in between. So we don't want to lose that, but it's a gamble, and I don't know how to answer your question because I don't have a crystal ball to see what's going to happen in 2 years. But it's a concern that I share.
And I look at things like student engagement, from exceed standards to approach standards, or, you know, those types of things. If the report is reflective of what is actually occurring, great. I mean, we have to address those issues. If it's on how it is being reported, and we're getting that based solely on how somebody from the Board of Public Ed is interpreting our report, that's something entirely different.
And I don't disagree, and I don't really have an answer for it. I would say this part of the whole charter school picture, I feel like the Board of Public Ed has been building the plane as they're flying it. And they're still working through their systems. But like you're pointing out, at the end of the 5-year contract, if we don't get renewed because of some anomaly with their system, we could end up paying the price.
Right.
And I don't really have like I said, I don't have an answer for you on it.
And that's fine.
It's a risk that we took in going for it. We didn't have to pursue a charter school, but I do think as we barrel down the road towards year 5, we're gonna definitely be wanting to pay attention to the feedback that we're getting from the Board of Public Ed, where we're at financially and funding wise, and how we would absorb a hit like that, and what the atmosphere is with the legislature for continuing or expanding these types of opportunities for school districts across the state, because it could go really any direction, and it is a little bit subject to political whim.
Thank you.
Is this report generally in line with other charter schools around the state? I mean, is there, I guess my concern is if we're the only one with a red.
I haven't reviewed them,
The only reason.
and I don't think they get posted until they get ratified at the local level and then sent back, but then the Board of Public Ed will post them all.
Okay.
And I can find that link.
That, just because, like, you know, the legislature starts digging, and they see, you know, red, okay, you know.
Right.
That's the easy, without any context.
It's a legit concern.
Cause it could have been red in 24, but it wasn't applicable that
Right.
year either, as far as the standard.
Right.
I don't know, I don't like the color red.
Do we have more, online than we did last year, I'm assuming?
Yes.
And is some of that because of the online,
The attendance part,
well, the attendance and both the engagement?
right? It's how we're reporting it, or how we're recording it, is really what we're picking up out of that. So that's where we're working on improving this system.
Do they have like check-in times that they have to abide by, or is it just kind of as they want?
Yes, we do. They have check-in times, but we also have, at the high school anyway, where they're saying, well, we did check in, but it didn't show up or something. We have all these little system glitches with the guys we were using this year. Yeah, generally speaking, they had one-time check-in every morning, 10 o'clock. That was the check-in time. And they basically had to answer questions that they knew they were online. And that was it, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Dan? For Paul? Okay. Thank you. Good discussion, good report. I guess we do have to report, we have to approve the report for submission, so I would entertain a motion from the board to approve the report and authorize the superintendent to submit it.
Approval of protest in the color red. I'd make a motion to approve the report.
Okay, we have a motion and to authorize the superintendent to submit.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Kristen. Additional questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. Okay, and our final item under consideration is non-renewal of some couple of temporary certified staff for no cause. Yeah.
So this is never the most fun thing that we have to do. These are teachers that came to work for us after the start of the school year. When we hire teachers in that situation, we place them on what we call a temporary contract. Their contract is stamped temporary, and they're informed that they'll have to reapply for their position or a different position with the district if they want to stay on. These two individuals, and so what happens with that is even though it's a temporary contract by state law, any teaching contract that is not non-renewed by the 1st of June automatically is renewed for the next school year. So if the board doesn't take any action, the contract would automatically be renewed regardless of the fact that we put temporary on it. So the temporary part is mostly just to make sure everybody is in the know from the get-go for those positions. And the reason we do that is typically you have a different hiring pool when you're hiring in April, May, and June than when you're hiring in September, October, or November. And so these are individuals who have done a great job for us. There's nothing adverse here. It's just that we don't have a spot for them for sure next year. They're still in the applicant pool and hiring pool. But to make sure we meet that June 1 deadline, we typically deal with these at the May board meeting. So I'm asking for board action to non-renew the contracts for Mariah Chambers and Jessica Clannon. And we do, according to our attorneys, need to do those in 2 separate actions.
Okay.
Wasn't Mariah in the special education part? And didn't we just have a resignation?
We did. And some of that hiring's not done yet. I can't say that that's how it's gonna go until we get there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to non-renew.
I'll make a motion to non-renew the first contract here for, do you want the name?
Yes.
Jessica Clement.
Okay, have a motion, do I have a second? Without comments.
I'll second.
And a second from Tyrell. Questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. Motion carries. And I would request a similar motion for Mariah Chambers.
Sure, I'd make a motion to non-renew Mariah Chambers
Without cause.
without cause.
Okay.
I'll second.
And second from Tyrell. Questions or comments from the board?
So just to clarify, so it's because the current position she's in is not available for the next school year?
It's been filled.
Okay, just a little hard to stomach to not renew a contract for
Understood.
somebody in special education when we're so desperate, okay.
Understood, and we still have positions that we're filling.
Additional questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. And that, my friends, will conclude this evening's meeting of the East Helena Public Schools Board of Trustees. Our next special meeting is scheduled for May 20th and also one at May 27th.